The Kalevala, the national epic of Finland and Karelia, is a blend of literature, poetry, myth, and folk tales from the ancient Suomi lands. It tells of the heroes of the land of Kalevala and their battles against the enemies in the northern country of Pohjola. One of the dominant characters is the mythical sage Väinämöinen, whose quests center on the Sampo, a mythical treasure that brings riches and good fortune. The Finnish, Karelian, and Estonian people preserved the ballads of their earliest ancestors in rural villages across the region for centuries. In the 19th century, a Finnish doctor and scholar named Elias Lönnrot embarked on 11 voyages into the rural lands of Estonia, eastern Finland, and Karelia to gather these oral legends in writing for the first time. His quest took him all around the rugged landscape in an effort to save the fading traditions of his native Finnic people. The northern peoples of Finland, Estonia, and Karelia had told tales of characters like Väinämöinen and his exploits in song for centuries. The inspiration for the original myths is debated, but the overlap of stories within these areas in Europe suggests shared religious traditions dating back millennia. Some scholars have suggested that the struggles of heroes in the land of Kalevala represent the Finns battling the indigenous Sami people, symbolized by the country of Pohjola. Part of what makes these stories so unique among other European traditions is the use of the Finno-Ugric languages in their telling. Because of the lack of consonants in Finnish, these stories, collected by Lönnrot, were often sung with beautiful alliteration. The cascading flow of words consisted mainly of vowels and created poetic structures that were very recognizable to local people. This tradition reflected the powers of the heroes within the Kalevala themselves, who often sang as a way of weaving magical spells. Väinämöinen, who was thought of as a somewhat divine hero, played local instruments and sang when encountering foes or problems. For Lönnrot, this was of great importance, as he sought above all else to revive the use of the Finnish language in his country after years of foreign influence under the Swedish Empire. As such, the Swedish-speaking areas of western Finland had lost the tales of the Kalevala, and only the Finnic languages preserved what would later be known as Elias Lönnrot's masterwork. Elias Lönnrot graduated with his bachelor's in philosophy from the Turku Imperial Academy in the year 1827. His thesis had been about Väinämöinen, who was then known as an old folk hero and possible deity of the ancient Karelian people. Lönnrot had planned to study medicine afterward, but a great fire in Turku caused him delays. While waiting, he decided to begin research among the Finnish-speaking areas of Karelia and eastern Finland in order to collect stories relating to his previous education. Over the 11 field trips that Lönnrot took into Karelia, he often had to traverse great distances and natural hurdles to access the remote villages. He traveled on foot, skis, boat, and horse. It is said by Finns that if one added up the distance of his travels, one could go all the way from Helsinki to the North Pole, a distance of over 2,000 miles. This region was full of lakes and great forests, but nestled among them were the tiny hamlets that had best kept the old ways. It was during the short Finnish summers that Elias would make these treks into the distant east, which had been untouched by the Swedish Empire or the Swedish language. Lönnrot called the songs of these people runes, and upon entering a place where they may be sung, he immediately began to play a flute in order to attract the attention of the locals. He hoped his friendliness and use of Finnish would make the village receptive to him and his research. Some complied joyfully, but others resisted the idea of their songs being recorded. Traditional Finns felt that these songs, like the heroes they spoke of, were magical and possessed great power. It was feared that exposure to the outside world would render them powerless over time. Crisscrossing these villages, Lönnrot discovered that many of the runes he heard were sung only about a single quest or exploit by one of the Finnish heroes. They were not organized into a cohesive narrative, and even the most prolific of singers and poets had only memorized a handful of the runes. Consequently, the need to explore different areas and unlock new runes became a passion of Lönnrot, who dedicated the next 15 years of his life to the uncovering of ancient Finnish mythology and runes. Lönnrot slowly gathered 22,795 verses divided into 50 different songs. These were published in book 5 separate times, with the final and present version of the Kalevala being completed in the year 1849. In his final preface, Lönnrot wrote, "Keeping in mind that these will become the oldest singular memories of the Finnish people and language as long as they continue to exist in the world, an effort has been made to arrange them with all possible care and diligence, and to include everything in them which the runes have preserved about the life, customs, and events of that period." Upon its reception, the Kalevala immediately sparked sweeping cultural patriotism in Finland and Karelia. It was not known to what extent the runes had been lost under the rule of the Swedes, and a new momentum toward the idea of Finland as its own country was born out of the growing pride of Finns in their local culture. The myths were known to be an inspiration to other non-Finnish people as well, including J.R.R. Tolkien, who based his most robust language of Elvish on the Finnish language after reading the Kalevala himself. In addition, the mythical Sampo was used as a literary device that influenced the One Ring of J.R. Tolkien's Lord of the Rings. The Kalevala has been adapted for other purposes by Finns, including its usage in rock and metal music, and it continues to be an inspiration for modern Finnish brands and company names to this day. Few works of literature have ever influenced their people more than this collection of old folk songs. Many of the stories of the Kalevala are now available in English, both in song and in writing, and every year, more languages receive a translation of the national epic. Though Karelia did not acquire independence, the ancient religious instincts of the Finnish, Estonian, and Karelian people are alive in the retelling of these stories, even in the present day.